I'm pretty sure we are live. Can we get confirmation in the old chat? Somebody would be kind enough to let us know that this thing is working. Post the tracks you're using for every intro. Fair enough. The same tracks will be played. I created a playlist. I made rotate between a few.
So if you want the music, you just watch the stream over and over and over again.
Sweet. Welcome to the first ever. It's not the first. We've done some streams before, but not with me, not with AJ. So welcome to the new and improved OFL Live. Please use the YouTube chat for those asking in Discord. It's easier if it's just all in one place. So let's just use YouTube chat. But anyways, we plan on doing a stream every Wednesday around, what did we say, 10 to 10:30 Central. Is that right, AJ?
We can do it then. I thought we were going to do it a little later, but it's up to you.
We're uncoordinated so far, but it'll be every Wednesday. We'll announce the times appropriately in advance so you guys can prepare. Every live will be recorded, so if you're not able to make it, they'll sit on YouTube until forever, or I guess until they're deleted or something. But anyways, our goal with this stream is it will be public. So this current one is not listed. It's only available for the OFL crew. But in the future, it will be open to anybody that wants to watch. And so obviously we'll be focused on, talking through some of the tools and answering questions about, OFL in general. But we'll come here with an agenda of, having, let's talk through the market, what's happened in the session so far. We'll have a topic of conversation, which I'm not even sure we have one right now, but we'll have something that, we want to talk about. And we could use you guys, as ideas for that for future episodes. So we'll always have kind of a general theme for the day or for the session. And then in addition to that, if there's any opportunities for a trade for either myself or AJ, we have AJ's screen is not working. So I'll have to...
Is my stream not working?
I'll have to figure out what just happened there. Yeah, I don't even see you in the room, homie.
Perfect.
So as soon as
is still working.
So as soon as AJ comes back, we'll fix that quickly, and we'll be able to flip between my chart and AJ's chart. So that's the idea, just to talk through what happened up until the point we're on, have a little bit of a topic to discuss for a discussion standpoint, and then maybe take some trades if an opportunity shows up for a great trade setup. So with that being said, AJ is trying to figure out what's going on with his stream.
I'm actually not doing that because everything looks like it's fine on my end.
You're not even in the room, homie.
Hold on.
Control room.
Oh, I see. How did that happen?
Mm-hmm. Mistakes were made.
This is why we did the dry run. Okay. How about that?
I think I need to redo the link.
Do you not see me in the room? Do you want me to?
Yeah, I see you in the room. Hang on. second. Technical difficulties. There we go. Okay, so AJ, we can flip now between screens, so we can see my screen. We can go back to AJ's screen. And I'm going to remove my time and sales for now, just so that doesn't get in the way. We'll fix that. All right, so AJ is an ES fanboy now. He's 100% dedicated to ES.
You know, it's funny you say that because I just took a peek for the first time at NQ today.
What'd you think?
I think it looked pretty lame, honestly, still. But I mean, ES has ES has that personality where it takes a lot of time. It feels slower and tighter than ES than it always does in NQ. But I mean, I've still had a decent week in ES. I don't know that I would have done any better or worse in NQ. That just feels like, obviously NQ's not trading at all-time highs right now, and ES is. ES doesn't feel like it's got that kind of, all-time high trendy bid right now. The RTH sessions there's been a pretty good offer the whole week. We obviously made it do all-time high on that overnight pump, but I'm not getting that sense of kind of bidded up excitement that I'm used to when we're kind of in an uptrend. So it's just something that's interesting.
AJ's bearish. You heard it here first.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Dr. Mantis Toboggan said you're going to be trading YM next. So that's your future.
That's my second kid. The second kid will put me on the Dow.
Yeah.
And then once I have three, it's bonds. It's bonds all day.
Ooh, trading for ticks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I'm already doing that in ES today, honestly.
All right. Well, why don't we talk through a little bit about the open and kind of the outlook? I don't know, for the rest of the session. I'll just go through my read. Just a couple of trades I took. I don't have the ability to show them because I'm not on my primary account right now. But one thing that I definitely always look at every morning is my TPO. This is kind of my guide. Obviously, it's pretty much like a 30-minute chart. It's just just letters for candles instead of candles. So what I'm looking at here and just this kind of area, very clear, line in the sand for me as far as support and resistance goes. So kind of looking at that on a longer time frame, last week's high kind of makes sense that we keep holding it above it. So from this, longer term outlook, which, not super relevant to everybody, but I think it's a great look to go, okay, what's the longer term view, or, like what's that over under to where we have this auction up here. If we break below it, then has potential to get, pretty bearish below there. And then on the 30-minute time frame, similar look. We have good excess up here in NQ. I mean, this definitely looks a bit finished as far as the volume profiles go, both on the composite and on the daily. These are RTH volume profiles. And then this balance area that we broke out from is where the volume profile is anchored to. So, the volume profile just continues to draw from the original balance area that this broke out from. I think we may have a potential for a new balance area to form. I would say maybe Monday, or would encapsulate this high and whatever Monday's activity looks like. So we may have May trying to be establishing some balance up here, but as AJ said, he's not getting that love and feeling in the ES where the buyers are heavy. So potentially there's a little bit, we're finding a little bit of a pause. That's kind of how I would say it. As far as the morning's open goes, something that I talk about very frequently is this 5-minute OR mid, kind of being an area that I like to take more or less mechanical trades from, not an order flow type of trade. So what I'm looking for, just to for a little bit of clarity for those that we haven't had a chance to kind of dive into that or go through it, is we have this 5-minute opening range. So I have the mids automatically drawn. That's on the OFL. That's on the OFL chart books as well. And so using this mid as a place to reoffer or rebid based on a breakout. And so I've run through some numbers with a couple of people, and I'll do a write up on this in more detail later. But essentially, just so everybody understands what I'm looking for this type of a trade, is basically like enough interest, either with volume or time, and preferably both, where we have this opening range and we establish some interest below it or above it that has a little bit of volume, and then I'll look for this range, this area to reoffer in this case, since it was a breakdown. So that was my guiding trade this morning, was this mid short, and then I actually took this pop above it short as well. And for the data that I looked at, it was using the OR high in this case as kind of the stop out point, or if it was a long, using the OR low as a stop out point, and not using the mid necessarily as to the tick, but more of like a zone. This is kind of a zone that I want to enter in, and using POSA as my guide. I'm not full in. As soon as we get there, I'll put a starter on and then look for some of that order flow stuff that we talk about, to add to that trade. So that was my trade, and unfortunately, I didn't take a screenshot like AJ did, and really that was it for me for my main account. And we've been kind of just trickling down ever since then. There's been divergence, as I understand, in ES. ES had a bit of a different look, so that may have been slightly confusing. We've seen that before, so that's not necessarily new. But AJ, I'll turn it over to you, man.
Sure. So I'll go over once Leo flips over to my chart. I'll go over like what I was looking at, and then I'll bring up. I took a screenshot of my fills from my main installation.
I already flipped.
You flipped me? Okay. So, right, ES is trading all-time highs, and we opened kind of above the previous week high. I don't really try to overthink it. We've been kind of grinding higher. So, initially I'm trying to see if we're going to get, if we're going to get kind of another push up, not like a trend day, but just like kind of a push up to kind of get a look at, those 30 areas that we sold off from, right, kind of here yesterday. That's really all the prep I was looking for. I'm not really overthinking it. We kind of opened up and we just kind of auctioned around, kind of drifting down in a very tight range for the first 30 minutes. We did have that revised consumer sentiment, so I figured I'm not going to touch it until once it became obvious that we were just kind of having a very tight open auction. I had no interest in touching it before B period. Even after the revised consumer sentiment drop came out, we kind of hung out inside this 5-minute OR, right? This is that gray box that you see in my screen is the 5-minute opening range. So it wasn't until 20 minutes in that we finally started to push out of the 5-minute OR. And so I will flip over actually to my Here we go. So I'll flip over now to this screenshot. So you'll see, right? Didn't take any trades in this auction. Like I said, once we kind of found a bid after this like little tag of RTH VWAP. So put on half of a size trade here because, we could always look above the overnight and fail. Kind of pushed above the overnight high. Came into these 20s, found a bit of resistance, but we did pause a little bit. We had a little bit of just very small, like slight support here. So I did give this I got into full size at 18s. But once we kind of got back in the overnight high, I kind of scratched it. My stop was back inside the 5-minute OR, but it just didn't have a look that I wanted to be long. So I scratched that trade. We kind of pushed down into RTH VWAP and then caught another bid. So that's where I retried to long it. And basically the look that I had was I kind of marked it here. So this is the leg up profile. So we kind of made this double distribution with the LVN around 13, 5-minute high. And you could see that there was a ton of, bid side absorption. Like you could see on the tape reader, sellers were dominant, but like I said, we auctioned here, built a bunch of volume, pushed up, and we started building volume higher. I'm always going to give that a look to kind of get more upside expansion, especially when we're at all-time highs. As you can see, I sat in the trade for a pretty long time and got nothing out of it. And so I cut the trade once I kind of notated this in the Discord. We were talking. It was pretty obvious. Like you see right here at 17 and 18, you have this. There was a seller just kind of taking the buying that was coming in, and it was just clear absorption. We ended up developing a liquidity zone. So I just cut both these trades for relatively small risk. I didn't get any off because I'm trading with a 4 or 5 point stop. I'm really not looking to cut these for just 2 points of profit, which is what I was getting. So, I gave it a look. I flipped over to NQ before I cut this trade. I saw that it was kind of drifting down, and, I just decided that it just wasn't worth it to keep holding. So that was for that. Then after that, I flipped over to like this chart to get ready for the stream. So Leo kind of notated this in his when he was going over his prep. Like we're kind of like hanging out above the previous week high in both NQ and ES. So ES also has this little bit of a notch here, like a slight LVN, and you could just see it's because we've hung out under it as resistance, we've hung out over it as support a little bit. So we just put a little bit of LVN there. And when we eventually liquidated, like we had this little, I wouldn't say liquidated, we kind of just grinded down into that spot. I had, Delta Map Bubble, EAD, Double Dominator, right on that spot. So I started to, scale into some longs here to give that a shot. I mean, I like the area. You see from overnight, it's kind of a potential rebid spot. MGI, 3 execution tools. Like I'm going to give that a look. I think this is a pretty good example of the execution style that Leo and I talk about, like POSA. So you see, I put on some right on the line, right at the signals, partial size trade. Didn't add to it yet because we did kind of hang out here for a minute, and then once buyings kind of came in, I got in more. Once we bid the spot, I got in more. And you can see I was just kind of scaling out around, under this prior day mid area because someone was kind of sitting on the offer there. We got a push into the IB. I was holding, I think I put on 8 total and I took off 6. So I was holding 2. I was just hoping for a push back into the 5-minute range. But you see, we kind of got rejected. We swept the low, but my stop was a bit lower. So I was able to stay in the trade. But kind of once we swept that little prior swing low, like I said, I was still in the trade, but we kind of just hung out here at the previous week high again, and I just didn't like the look of it. So I just stopped myself out of the rest that I had, and of course, it's kind of seeming like I should have been paying more attention and maybe giving this another look here. But that's the classic AJ scenario, right? It's once I stop myself out, that's when it goes. You've now seen
We're
it in back-to-back days.
yeah, we're gonna code that.
It needs to be coded.
The new OFL study will be the AJ stop.
Hmm. Yeah, I think this is like, I mean, this is like I said, this is my main account. I was pretty happy with how I managed this, like putting some on with the signal at the level, adding with some confirmation, adding on a retest, paying myself along the way. Obviously, it didn't end up going, but it could have been, I think it had potential to be a pretty decent trade. And I mean, this area still could play out pretty nice right now. So,
Are you looking
yeah,
for anything
for the rest of the day.
for the rest of the day? Yeah.
Um, I think something that could be interesting if the market does find a bid, um, and we do end up pushing back into a value, like if we kind of come up into find a bid from here, push into a period high 14 and find some selling, I think a hold of the IB low in this 806 805 area could be interesting. Kind of right, create a distribution up here, create a distribution down here, get back into the upper one and possibly lean long. I think that's something that's kind of caught my eye, but the pace right now is not really the type of price action that I love. So it would need to be pretty clear and obvious.
Yeah, it's
So I'd want to,
very slow.
yeah, very slow, very grindy. I'm not going to force it. Um, but like if we were, like I said, if we pushed into, even it didn't even have to come to 14. If we came anywhere like into the middle to upper half of the OR, and then found some responsive selling, and like they start to bid this area like crazy, I think that could be a good long to maybe push back to the overnight high or even just the other side of the 5-minute opening range.
Yeah. I'm gonna flip over to my screen just for a second.
Sure.
I like the this we're building this clearly defined distribution down here in NQ, and I would be looking for potential of a short reoffer like 295, 290. Obviously, we got to see what happens up there. Just kind of like breaching just above the IB low, and finding sellers again to bring it back down into this lower distribution. So that would be one play that I'd potentially be watching for. Another would be if we come down and break this and make a new low, looking for potential that to be a potential stop run down into prior day low into this liquidity zone, and then using that as a potential long or waiting for a rebid of that move. That could be two scenarios there. Um, but yeah, I mean it is Friday. It's the it's very grindy. This week has been pretty grindy. It's the Arval is decent, but it's just been a slow. You got to be patient. Just wait for that A+ setup, and then hit it and take the points and kind of call it a day. That's how I've been approaching these low volume, just kind of grinding moves.
Yeah, I think like volume's not terrible, but it's definitely kind of trending down. Both like yes, both the average daily volume and average daily ranges kind of on the downtrend, which I mean, it makes sense. Like, um, I would feel like once you get to all-time highs, participation kind of dries up a little bit because not everyone loves buying all-time highs, right? And we did just kind of we're just leaving a period of pretty high volume of volatility, but it'll pick up again, one way or the other.
Yeah, don't let
Oh, that's
the low volume put you guys to sleep. You got to stay on your toes because when it changes, obviously you want to be in alignment with that change. And personally, that's how I use Arval. I mean, that's my guide, and it's served me well for many years. Um, so just using that as a reference, the Arval is decent, but it's within the kind of standard, 98. It could be decent, like a decent day with some good rotations, but it could also be days like today where it just kind of grinds around. So it's not necessarily like it's in the middle of the normal range, I would say.
Yeah, one thing. I mean, I'm not. I don't know that I would necessarily trade this because it would be kind of knife catching. Um, you want to flip over to my chart real quick?
Yep, I am on it.
Okay. So this is a little bit of like a high. It's not really high. It's like a higher time frame volume chart. Um, it just kind of gives me the same rotational look that my execution chart does, but a little bit more zoomed out. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
so yeah, so basically it's like 20K volume, and I don't. I kind of flip to this when I feel like I'm getting a little too zoomed in, like on, and I'm like really focused on this intraday chart, and I feel like I just don't have a read or I just want a different look. I'll flip over to this. So this is the session profile. This is a rolling 30-day profile. So I've kind of got this anchor VWAP sitting here on this kind of local swing low from I guess it was like last week. And you can see like we kind of been like riding it. This isn't like a setup, but it's just kind of something I watch. But I've noticed that like kind of right here at like the low 80s, like I've got the ATR low, this anchored VWAP, and kind of like this LVN here. Um, that's kind of an interesting spot if we did kind of had a sharp liquidation. I don't know that I would buy it, but I mean personally, if I was short here, like if I wanted to reoffer this IB, look for a liquidation, that's kind of where my eyes would be right there. And it would also kind of maintain like we are kind of like we're drifting higher, so it wouldn't necessarily take out the previous day low, but it could be a nice target there. Um, Now, like I said, I don't intend on buying it because if we get down there, we've kind of got a open auction push above the overnight high, and then we're just kind of like trending down at that point. But if I was short, that's where I would be targeting my runners.
A little bit of excitement just came in as you were talking.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
They bid. They once I started talking about shorts, they caught a bid.
Yep.
Classic. I mean, let's like you could tell on ES at least. This low, like we bid around this previous week high, like pre-market, and it looks like we kind of held it, swept it, got back above it, held it again, and pushed. So I wouldn't be surprised for this overnight low to kind of hold in ES. It's just we're now 4 or 5 hours into the session. At this point, like I'm not really looking. I'm not looking to trade personally. So it could catch a bid down here, but this is just not my ideal time of day. So I'm not really looking for it. Um, but it would not at all surprise me for them to kind of, like I said, kind of push back, clear this IB low, and then kind of settle back into this upper distribution. When you showed me NQ's chart, the distributions kind of weren't as clean as this one. Like there's not like that primary LVN
Yeah.
that ES has.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I can see it. I've got a ton of tool. I've got Dominator. I've got exhaustion, Dominator, Z like Delta flips,
Feel like I just
liquidity
missed that
zones.
trade that I talked about.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Was that distracting you?
No, I mean it just popped up there to that spot, and then I don't know. It wasn't convincing enough for me. The absorption there. I mean, there was no. I don't know. There wasn't anything to get super
Super excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna need some volatility or some trend moves to make these streams a little bit more exciting.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to just take a trade just for the sake of taking a trade.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, I probably would have taken that if I was sitting here by myself.
You got a little like a pee shy situation. Can't do it while other people are looking.
I do have a I do have a shy bladder actually,
Shy bladder. That's it.
yeah.
Shy bladder.
And the trade plays out. Darn.
There you go. Everybody close their eyes so Leo can get comfortable enough. Look away.
Is my mic low? Man, I feel like I am just absolutely like breathing on the microphone.
I mean, it sounds like you're right next to me whispering in my ears, but maybe it's coming across YouTube differently.
Maybe I need to check out the settings I'm using.
Let's see. What are people saying in here? Cap says that single prints are just a fancy way to say 30-minute fair value gaps.
I said, Cap, you're blocked and reported.
Oh, there you go. New Delta map candle color scheme helpful. It's a heads up something might be happening. I don't have a great read on exhaustion forming. I think OFL's got some. I mean, they have two really good exhaustive activity tools with the EAD and the Delta map bubble. If you have a hard time identifying exhaustion, I would slap those things on both those on your chart.
What you can do,
Okay.
Ryan, is you can set the Delta map extreme move sensitivity to something lower. So like 2.75 or something. I just adjusted it. If you have it set lower, you're going to see more prints, more exhaustion prints, and that may help you form a better visual read on those exhaustive moves. So basically, what I'm saying is like you could use that as kind of a training tool for your for a visual aid. And so when you see that, you know, what happened before it and what happened while it was printing kind of thing. That 2.75 looks pretty good today. Dang, I should have taken that trade. So AJ, I don't know that we really had a planned topic. Do you have anything on the top of your mind?
Do I have anything on the top of my mind? I guess. I mean, this is just something I was thinking about, and you'll probably make fun of me because I've actually been pretty hard against this. When I was trading NQ, this is something that maybe not is applicable to everybody, but we could talk about it because I've been thinking about it. I never looked at ES when I traded NQ.
I know what's coming.
I never traded ES when I traded NQ because, you know, I don't know. I just never felt like I did it when I started. I had both of them up at the beginning, and I never felt like ES actually gave me like it never helped me. I felt with my NQ trades, so I just never watched it ever. I'm kind of wondering though if maybe it's not the same the other way. I wonder if I kind of need to keep an eye on NQ if I'm trading ES, because I think a lot of times. So like I said, I've been trading ES for like 2 weeks exclusively, and I have not really watched NQ. But I'll like check it and see what NQ did at the end of the day, because I mean NQ's still my main girl. We're just on a break. We're seeing other people right now. And if I look at some of the long attempts that I took in ES, if I had the NQ chart up, I probably would not have. I would have thought about it a little bit more. And so I'm wondering if, and listen, I'm going to talk out of my ass a little bit here. And I wonder if it's just because like, the like I said, Leo, you can please correct me if I'm wrong about this, is I'm about to say something that's way outside my wheelhouse, right? I mean, obviously, we all know that some of the biggest, drivers of these indexes are tech companies. So I wonder if the fact that, since NQ is more tech heavy, if I'm going to look for momentum or trend move in ES, like does NQ need to be on board, right? Like how likely is it for ES to get a trend day up if NQ is like kind of balancing underneath its like opening range, or it's in a kind of in a downward auction.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's a good point.
you think?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've always had, and this is probably why you said I was going to make fun of you, is because I just have like an ES DOM on my right monitor with MGI, the pivot, and that's pretty much it. And I mean, volume profile. Um, basically, it looks exactly like my NQ DOM, but it's got some MGI, some additional MGI, and like the Joe pivots. So that gives me context on what ES is doing versus NQ. Another thing that you could do, this is just an idea, is you could create a chart that just shows. You'd have to subscribe to the
It
additional
shows
data
those
feed,
stocks. That shows like
but
the mag,
yeah,
the
you
mag
could
seven or
show those
whatever.
Mag 7 stocks
Yeah.
individually as a percent change from prior close type of deal, like a line chart.
So So I did think about that because I think I used, I mean, not for the same purpose, but all the way back in the day, I used to have something like that. I wonder though I wonder if seeing just like the percent change is enough, or if I actually might benefit more from actually seeing the NQ chart, like seeing the price action of NQ. I wonder if that might be a little bit more helpful than just the percent change. But I have thought about both. And I think, I don't know if, here's one other thing. I don't know if it's just the DOM because I'm not really checking the NQ DOM. Like I'm looking at the chart. Like if I look at this chart in NQ, like scroll back to the open, like the very open. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna get it on delay, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Um,
but I'm doing it for the crowd.
so it doesn't really look like a breakout long is gonna develop any.
Oh, right.
You could saw by the trade that I shared from the morning. I'm watching ES build volume higher, which is a perfectly logical thing for me to do. I have like no regrets on the logic I implied. But if I need NQ to be on board, it doesn't really look like it was going to be on board at any point. So I probably would have either taken it with reduced size or just not given it two attempts like I did. So I do think I think I need to keep an eye on it. Let's see. I watch NQ while trading ES. If I remember, 25% of ES is text, so I find it really useful to keep an eye on. Yeah, I mean, I think NQ could. I think NQ. This is my very uninformed, unexpert opinion. I just, for some reason, I feel like NQ, when it wants to go, like it can go regardless of what ES is doing. I wonder if it's not necessarily the same the other way around.
I mean,
Now,
I've always it's benefited me to be able to just know what ES is, and
mhm.
even for like you know LVNs, um, if ES is coming up to a large LVN from below,
Hmm.
and I'm looking for where can I take profit, or maybe like let's just say like I'm looking at a spot for a long, and ES is coming into resistance on just the volume profile. That may give me some pause, to take the trade in the first place.
Yeah.
Or let's say I'm like looking for a reoffer in NQ, and ES is at its low of day. So
Right.
really, what you think about there is that you have NQ that's rallying a little bit, because like if reoffer would be there's an up rotation, right? And so I'm looking for that to get reoffered. So it goes, obviously sellers to step in. Well, if ES is currently at low of day or near its lows, then I'm effectively short ES in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to have some, that's context that I like to have just because, maybe that's a trade where, I still take it, but I'm a little more, on guard about, scratching the trade or just being cautious about, if ES gets a push, with that momentum break of the low, then fine. My trade's probably going to work. But if they
Right.
squeeze out of that low, then I want to get out of my
Mm-hmm.
NQ trade because of that. So there's
So
dynamics like that, that come into play.
I think I need to somehow bring this all together.
And this
Um,
is something I shared with you many, 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 many months, at least a year or 2 years ago. And so I just want, for the record,
we argued about it on the podcast, actually.
oh, I mean, that's even better. We have plenty of receipts. AJ is copying me once again.
Yeah, okay. So, whatever. Lynch says that ES's profile is always cleaner. I love like that's I think the main thing that's keeping me on ES. Um, as someone that I mean, volume. If I have to just like say what the most important thing on my chart is, like like volume profiles and the various periodicities. Is that it? Is it periodicity?
Periodicities. Yeah,
Periodicity?
periodicities.
Something like that. You know what I'm saying? All the different volume profiles I have are the most important, data points and visual cues I have in my chart. And I just like how LVNs actually get respected in ES. Like if you put your stop on the other side of an LVN, if it gets hit, it's probably going to be wrong. Whereas NQ just loves to violate them real quick and make you second guess yourself and give you hope in um, that you got stopped out, but it was just a stop run. But actually, no, it's not a stop run, and now you're just like re-entering the trade over and over again when you really shouldn't be. Yes, is a little bit more obvious when I should stop leaning on volume structure. But I think Job's pointing out that there's good value in having them both in sync, and I think I don't know why I I'm still in denial. Still in a little bit of denial about needing to look at ES if I'm trading NQ, but I'm all about looking at NQ when I'm trading ES. I don't know if that makes sense or not,
I
but
don't know that you. I think you're
that's
just
how
saying. I think you're saying that because you took that position a
I'm
long
dying
time
on that
ago,
hill. I'm
and
digging in.
that's the hill you're going to die on. And I think it's the wrong hill.
Well, I've built my house on dumber hills, so
Fair enough. Um,
I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna have to create a some kind of NQ chart in my ES book to keep an eye on it. Some kind of read.
so, AJ, you've inspired me. I'm going to work on an ES chart book this weekend for myself. And next week, maybe take some ES trades. You know,
That dude, all I love the price action of NQ, and I hate how it treats my volume profile. And I hate the price action of ES, but I love how it treats the volume profile. So it's really hard for me to kind of say, what is the way. I mean, what's good is that what I'm grateful for is despite them both have their positives and negatives, the logic that you can apply to both of them are pretty interchangeable. So it's not, we've dabbled in trading other markets before, and I think sometimes it can be just a little bit too different or too far outside my comfort zone. Like flipping between ES and NQ is not. I think that. I mean, there's certainly some nuance, and they're definitely have their own personalities and characteristics, but it's not hard to interchange to flip between the two of them.
yeah, I agree.
It's like if I were to look at like flip over my chart real quick. Like look at how clean this LVN is interacting here. This 805, 806 LVN in ES. If this were NQ, we'd have tagged like 811 and then sold. We would have swept this low 3 times, you know.
When you have that liquidity zone there too, that's a
Yeah, I
plus.
mean, look at this. That is 3 tags of an LVN holding in NQ. I don't know about that. I haven't seen that in a minute.
Is that delta profile for the session?
Yes, this is a session profile.
Gotcha.
It definitely respects the volume profile a lot more. I feel like I said, I think one of the biggest areas of drawdown that I have in my trading are when I lean on structure in NQ. And like I said, it's kind of violating the spot that I'm leaning on, but just by a point or two. So it kind of gives you hope that maybe your stop was just a bit too tight. And so you end up, or at least I know I'm not the only one that does this, but you know, what I end up doing, and a lot of people, this will probably resonate with other folks, is that, you know, you put your stop behind logical structure, you get ticked out, and then you get a response and then NQ back in your direction. So you re-enter, giving your stop just a little bit more room, and then it violates it again just by a couple ticks. But then you get another response, so you just end up having to re-enter a couple times as NQ is slowly ticking against you, and then eventually it just ends up going the other way. And yes, it doesn't. I don't really find myself having to do that so much. So, you know, when I'm wrong, I'm taking like, you know, one stop out, and that's it. Whereas in NQ, I might stop out like 2 or 3 times trying to get a trade going. You know, obviously though, the trade-off there is like this long that I took earlier, right? I was able to lean on my spot for a while, but it never went more than like 8 to 10 ticks in profit. So there wasn't a whole lot of time, a whole lot of opportunity for me to kind of scale out. You know, we kind of just like hung out on my entry until I eventually had to cut it. But you know,
AJ, I think you should get long right now.
I think I should get long right now.
Yep. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying it looks like a decent spot. A little bit of absorption in NQ there at the overnight low, almost tagged of the overnight low, and the tape reader got pretty extended for a minute.
All right. Well, you know, this is micros. It's a funded account. We'll put a couple on to see what happens.
Let's go. A little late. It's a bit of a chase, but
it's a bit of a chase, but it's 2 micros. I think we'll live.
Yep. Let's watch this.
I mean, this is the era that I was buying before anyway.
Yeah. Right.
I think this also, like I said, I was long kind of up here. The tape reader kind of gave me that clue earlier that, you know, there's not really anyone buying the market up there.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to ignore it. Show me your NQ chart so we can see how NQ looks. Maybe we'll decide right here and there if I need to watch both.
I think it's bounced a little harder than ES has, but we'll see if we can get over this 255 spot.
That looks like it could be a decent low there. That exhaustive push, the strong move out of it, rebid it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that rebid structure. There was a decent bit of absorption down there. I should give you a heads up a little sooner.
Yeah. Cap says I don't have targets. Do I exit on vibes? I would say 90% of my decisions are the vibes. Yes. So when I think obviously he's joking a little bit, but you know, if I were to obviously pick a target for this trade, I'm going to be looking at this area that we've been selling here, IB 804, 806 liquidity zone. I will watch what happens when we come into this 804, and if it feels like there's still someone there, I'll cut some. But if not, I'll hold through it. I always want to give my momentum brothers a chance to break the level that is kind of standing in our way, so I can potentially hold more. But no, I do not use limits. I do like, I don't hate using limits. Like
I
I'll
jumped in
place
this.
them
I'm
manually.
in this long from 51.
Nice. I don't hate using limits, but Rhythmic doesn't like limits. So we are market in. I'm team market in, market out for the most part.
Cap would probably be surprised to hear me say that I manage every trade, every take profit manually. That's how I've done it for God forever.
I also have a habit of putting my limit orders about a tick farther than they should be. So it's just better for me to just market to just.
Have you've ever watched your take profit limit order? You know, price goes like one or two ticks just to it and then comes all the way back to your entry. God, that's frustrating.
I have seen it somehow
You turn
tick
in
my.
you get FOMO on the other side. You get FOMO, like you end up chasing price down on your take profit because you're like trying to FOMO cover.
It's like what always seems to happen is if I have a limit that happens to, I'll bring it down to another spot, and then it just the same thing happens again. It comes right up to it and stops to tick short, pushes lower, and then I bring it down, and it comes again up again. Like I just have a really good way of picking +1 take profit ideal take profit spot. So yeah, I will eat some. I will
If I
eat
gave this trade, it
some
would be
spread.
a C trade. There's just not
This
much
one
going on.
the one
Yeah.
that you bullied me into taking.
Yeah. I mean, we're just stuck in this in the muck.
I mean, we did like I do not hate the spot. I mean, it's an important area. This previous week high. Like I said, yes, has kind of rebid this overnight low push up. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't hate it.
it's just one of those trades where you just kind of have to sit and wait. You know, like NQ still hasn't really even moved like 3 points from my entry.
3 points. That would be a gift for me today.
Said every ES trader.
Right.
Tommy said, when adding to a trade, how do you manage the risk on the ad?
Um, I think it depends on what kind of ad it is. If I'm adding against my entry, my stop's just where it doesn't move, right? If I'd like, say, I just take my initial entry, whatever happens, happens. Take my initial entry, I put my stop where I'm wrong. Then whatever happens, I add against my entry. I mean, theoretically, my stop is still in the same spot because that's where the trade is wrong. Um, on the other side, when it's a late sequence ad, meaning we've kind of moved away from the area that I'm leading on, and now we've gone like a full rotation. I'm taking profit, but the market still has momentum in the direction of my trade. Now I'm looking. I usually draw a profile, leg to leg profile. Um, I draw a leg to leg profile um, on the swing leg that I'm leaning on, and I'll drag my stop.
Oh, stopped.
Yeah, I will drag my stop up as the profile builds, kind of leaning on.
Hey, we
Um,
may get a real trade now.
yeah, we might. I'll drag my stop as the profile builds up, right? Because I want to see volume building in the leg that I'm trading with, and so I'll kind of leave it behind areas of liquidity that are in the direction of my momentum. So like if it's a long trade, I'm looking for areas that got a lot of bid accumulation and then pushed up from. I'll put my stop under there. Opposite for a short, I'm looking for areas of offer liquidity, um, and I'll put my stop above there. Like in the example of today, let's say I did the right thing and got short the highs. We're still looking at my chart.
Yep.
So like, let's say I was smart today and I shorted like overnight high and we pushed down. I took some profit here at previous week high. And then let's say I added, I still had some up here, like a runner. And now I've been adding against this IB low. My stop would probably be, I don't know, some maybe back inside this 5 minute, just inside this 5 minute range. So I would kind of, my initial entry here, adds here, I'd bring my stop down to lean on this LVN. I'm always looking for volume structure of the current direction that I'm leaning on. Let's see if actually, no, that's not it. No, it's a, here we go. Let's look at the volume profile of this leg. So this is a volume profile of this leg down. You can see, obviously there's an LVN here, but we kind of created this gap on this push down. So I'd probably have my stop like right here at like 09, 09 and a half maybe, just because I need to give it an extra tick because my initial reaction is just to put it right where I shouldn't. So yeah, I would have added here, dragged my stop to like right here. But when it's against entry, the stop doesn't move unless something changes where I have to give it like, where I feel like I have to give it less room. But that doesn't happen very often.
I think that's been a hot topic of people, trying to figure out how to add to a position, in a smart way, because obviously a lot of things change when you add, to your trade, especially when it's working. So I think that's going to be something that we try to focus on as we do more of these, and then maybe like some ad hoc, recordings or just showing examples from our own trades of how we manage that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have. I was certainly hoping to have a nice long adding sequence to show today when the morning started, but it did not materialize. Do we consider poor highs and lows from TPOs? Yeah, we had a poor low for a little bit earlier in ES that we eventually took out. I keep them on my chart for sure.
How do you use what's the context to use a poor high or poor low around? I'm just curious.
The context that I
Yeah,
use it,
like what? How do you view that?
I hate them. I have a visceral emotional reaction when I see a poor high and low. It really bothers me. It's a fault that I have. Is that why you brought this up? Because you wanted me to talk about this?
No, I'm just curious. Like I view it as exhaustion, right? So like, until I view it as temporary exhaustion, and then the spot, that reference point is weak because it's not a strong, area for support, or like if it's a poor low, it's not going to be a strong area of support on a retest later on. But temporarily, I view them as, temporary exhaustion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd trade against them in the short term, but on the longer time frame, like if we have a poor low that's getting revisited, I'm definitely very cautious about, viewing that as support. I don't view that as support. I view it as a short-term exhaustion spot that if when they do get revisited, that's not going to be support later. That's going to be more, easier to slice through, I guess, versus proper excess. When that gets retested, that excess, you look for that to be rebid, right? You look for that to be supportive area.
Mm-hmm. While we were talking, we just actually liquidated right into that spot that I was looking at earlier, and we gotta get better at taking trades while we're talking through things.
Right.
But exactly what I was outlining earlier, kind of that ATR, Anchor VWAP, and then this LEN E2. That's we actually got an E80 right into it. You know, that's a miss. It's a big miss right there.
I'm in along from that area. I just,
All
was
right,
just
well,
talking. Um, because
well, let's flip over to your chart. Let's flip over to
that
your
was
chart
the
because
other
I got nothing
thing.
going.
That was the other thing, I was looking for was that. So like when we jumped on, we talked about how this is kind of a distribution. So reoffering here, and then looking
Mm-hmm.
for a break that brings us back up to this range. So I'm not totally sure. I mean, we got the dominator and the delta flip, so that's kind of where I'm positioned right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we didn't get to talk through that, unfortunately.
That's a clean look there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let it. I gotta move my stop here. This is I get a lot of questions about do I move my stops like to break even or just leave it? And this is a very kind of interesting scenario where I would leave, I would place it, right around here, I think is fine. Because, we could come and kind of test around here, but any lower than this area, I think we're going to make a new, likely to make a new low and then continue to push. So I'm not adding, if we come back and test my entry, I'm not going to add on this. I'm just looking for this to be a trade that goes, breaks the range and goes back in. So I'm not looking for this to be, I'm just looking for this to be a very quick thing. So if we hang out here for a long time, I'm probably going to bail. I like to see this absorption. So targets here would be value low. This area right here, 220, and then up here to 255. Oh, VIX is VIX getting a bid? What are you seeing on ES?
We kind of we had a nice response from the area, came back into the overnight low and kind of dying off again.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, I really like the spot, but we're about to come into the last hour, the power hour. Longs have not really worked yet.
Yeah.
This is not the type of trade that I would ever be taking in my normal account. So that's kind of like why I wasn't really interested in taking it. Like I'm not on a normal day. I'm either playing golf or like having a beer with my wife or something at this point on a Friday afternoon. So I didn't want to take one for the sake of the stream. But like I said, the real thing, if I really wanted to be in a trade right now, I should have shorted that IB low and then just taken profit on my short.
Yeah.
That would have been the trade that's more appropriate for my style. But like I said, I mean, that's the beauty of ES. Like you're gonna get a response out of those like structural areas on the volume profile. I mean, sometimes NQ, like when it's going, screw your volume profile. Yeah, I mean, we're coming right back into the swing low. There's
Are they going to save my stop? There's no way. I thought I was for sure getting stopped out there.
I mean,
I mean, that's
if they're gonna rebid
incredible.
it, if they're gonna rebid it, they're gonna do it right here from 84, I
I
think.
mean,
And
they
yes,
came literally.
uh,
Look at my
speaking into
stop.
existence. Speaking into existence.
Epic stop placement. That's a skill issue. I'm just joking.
I mean, it's
I
definitely a skill
do.
issue. Hey,
I do want to peel off. I mean, I just don't think this is looking that great. But
never looks great until it does. How many you got in there? I can't
I
even
mean,
tell.
they've reoffered this prior week high twice now.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually getting now a sell EAD from this overnight low. The momentum
ooh,
EAD a little bit. You know, from a volume standpoint, you know,
I
if
mean,
we get back,
it looks okay. I just want to see this get aggressive. We're
yeah,
starting to push a little bit, but
yeah, from just like looking at like what's happened so weak. Sorry, what's happened so far this week. It just looks like if we get back under 80, like, I mean, obviously we've only got an hour and 20 minutes left, but it looks like we kind of trade more towards the lower end of the week's range. I mean, maybe that happens next week, maybe it doesn't, but
yeah,
um, kind of having that previous week high service resistant. It's an ES for the first couple days. Finally, you get that crazy move overnight, and we're just kind of trading around the previous week high, and um, yeah, it's my excited buyers that I like to get buy high days with have just not been there.
mm-hmm.
They are MIA. You're gonna get a milk carton going looking for them.
Where are the buyers?
Where are the idiot buyers? Hold on a second. Let me close my door.
We're building a ledge here at 205. I think if we can get above that, it might be okay.
Did you put your stop there at 177? I can't believe you're still in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, what would happen, how you could get stopped out if I go join your trade and I put my stop in the same place. You get swiped out real quick.
Just get above these 201.99. Left it. Not so much, huh? There's a bunch of.
I've been begging for them to lift it all week.
Right.
You know what's I
Give me a
think
pop just to take off a couple. That's what I want. Make it worth the time.
The ES and NQ are so in sync right now. They look exactly the same at the low. Kind of rebid that little swing low, pretty tight. Pushing this right. You're up against previous week high. We're up against the overnight low.
All right, I'm just gonna take off 2 there. And now it's gonna run because that's that's what happens.
That's how it be. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good for me when I'm unsure, and I'm always I think I'm always a little unsure, even after many years. But what I found is that if I'm not seeing really what I want to be seeing, then the best thing I can do in that moment is just reduce the size. Like I had 12 points or 13 points there. That's really not bad for a base hit and NQ. And then I still have a little bit on that I can watch. And so now I'm not necessarily as antsy. So for me, this is a great way to illustrate how I've managed certain situations, and this being a situation where we talked about this scenario when we first jumped on the stream. It's playing out a little bit, and it's just not, we don't have that umph, right? So the best thing for me is just to size down. I got a little profit, recovered some of that stop that I took earlier. So no harm, no foul.
Nice.
If you got stopped, would you have re-entered on the same thesis? I think it really depends on that situation because we have this very well-defined distribution, right? And so this is balance, distribution, whatever you want to call it. We can see it on the volume profile. We've broken that. So the trade idea was we break this balance and kind of find ourselves back in it. And so if we didn't achieve that, we made a new low, then I would view that as acceleration away from this distribution. And so I don't know that I would necessarily be super excited about re-entering based on the same idea, unless there was just like another very swift stop run that got even more acceleration. Oh crap, I meant to take one and I took 2. Oh well, I double clicked there at the overnight low.
100-point runner incoming.
Yeah, no kidding. So but yeah, Cap, it's kind of situational dependent. I think it's a break of balance that makes a low and gets bid and then re-offered and makes a new low does keep me very cautious on that. Hey, we potentially have a break, a serious break, not just like a failed break. So hopefully that was helpful. Damn it, why did I do that?
Is the second level of gradient in the tape reader full release, or is that we're still testing it?
I think it's ready to go. What do you think?
Yeah.
So this is
so.
essentially
Someone was asking about the colors and
yeah. So essentially, our Motive Wave developer had this idea to change the color based on if this is a reduce, kind of like I don't know, MACD does this or some other oscillator thing does it, to where like we have this high over here, And then the next bar is lower than that high, then it makes it a darker shade. So it kind of makes that easier to visualize potential change. Yeah, so I will get Corey and Flux for Ninja and Josh to push those out, and I'll make an announcement when they do. What are you crackling about?
I love that that let me in GIF that XY just posted.
Oh,
It's one of my favorites.
so here we go. This is me getting mad that I took
That
my
you're
my position all the way off when I didn't mean to.
happens to the best of us. Yeah, exactly. Let me
But
back in.
it was a winning trade, so cool.
Would you normally, if we weren't streaming, would you be in here at this point of the day buying this dip?
On a Friday, no.
Yeah.
No. I try to stay away from Friday afternoons. I think my best routine on the Friday thing is trading that first hour and a half, and then doing something else productive. Right. I don't love to just totally do nothing on a Friday, just because I don't know. I'm kind of a workhorse. I do enjoy working, whether it be working on OFL stuff or posting funny stuff on Twitter, or I don't know, whatever. Work.
Sharing memes and GIFs.
That's work.
Part of the grind. No, I agree. I mean, I would absolutely, like I said, I would not be here on a normal Friday taking this long, but it did play out pretty. It was a pretty clean setup.
Is the delta map gradient related to the tape reader at all? No, they are different, separate looks at delta. What's the benefit of having them both? AJ, do you want to take that?
Sure. So I think the one thing that tape reader, they both do different things. The tape reader, I think, especially the tile one that we both have under our DOM. That is going to show you like the most sensitive. It's going to give you the most sensitive and real time look at the time in sales. So, the one for NQ, I'm pretty sure we have it it's a 5-period look back on a 100 volume chart, I think, or 250 volume chart. I don't remember which, but it's going to basically, if you have a hard time interpreting the time of sales, the tile tape reader is going to show you like how the tape is changing, like second to second. It's going to be relatively responsive, and showing you in real time who's being more aggressive in that moment, buyers or sellers. So that's one thing the tape reader does that the delta map doesn't. Obviously, delta map has those other tools attached to it. In terms of the one that's on your execution chart, I think that when I was using NQ and I was using both of them, the tape reader underneath my execution chart was a longer time frame. It's a longer period look back than the delta map gradient. So let me kind of back up and explain why I did that. For the delta map color gradient bars, I would only color the highest color gradient, and I would have a relatively short look back period because I wanted the delta map gradient to paint the bars that had really, really aggressive moves. And that was all I wanted to see. So it was like pretty sensitive. So it would basically, if we had like a liquidation break, right? So extremely aggressive selling, only the bars where like the liquidation started from would be painted red on the delta map gradient, so I could actually see which candles the hard selling came into, and vice versa for longs. Like if we were in a trend move and they were just buying the offer like crazy, I wanted to see the specific bars where that buying came in. Whereas the tape reader, since it was a longer period look back, it kind of gave me more of like this is what's generally been happening over the last kind of 15 minutes look. The tape reader is kind of taking an average when you have a longer look back. So it's kind of showing me just which side has been more dominant over the last, X amount of volume. However, depends on like what kind of chart you're running on your execution chart and how long your look back is. So it's kind of not showing you like the tape reader on my execution charts, not really showing me necessarily what's happening moment to moment, more so showing me who's more dominant generally over the time period that we're looking at.
I flipped over to your screen, just FYI.
Cool. Yeah. So you can see on my tape reader, I'm not using the delta map gradient on this chart, but you can see on the tape reader here, right? This is I think it's a 12.
Selling.
Yeah, it's nothing but selling. Let me tell you what the look back is on this here. Right. It must be the wrong. Here we go. Yeah, so this is a 12 period look back on a 5K chart in ES. So you can see starting at basically once we made this, the IB high, the high of the day, generally speaking, it's just been selling, right? All day. But obviously, if I were to put a delta map gradient on here and have it short time frame, you see all these dominators in EAD. Obviously, buying has been coming into the market, but this tape reader is kind of going to, because it's taking an average of all the data, it's going to filter out those moments of buying and really bring my attention to, hey, sure, there's buying coming in, but look at who's more at play here, like the sellers, right? This is why, like, once we got back inside this overnight high, like I didn't buy it until we came into this level because look at all, like, it's pretty obvious who's partying more right now. And so that's how I use it. Is that clear?
Clear to me.
Okay. I guess in summary, I use a delta map gradient to identify areas of very high delta activity on the short term, whereas the tape reader gives me more of a complete picture of what's going on. That's the simple way of doing it, saying it. Running the Leo meme page is a lot of work. It is.
Only one man can do the job. Well,
how's your pike trade going? It's kind of hanging out there at the overnight high now.
Don't talk about my pike, okay? I think this was a good practice round for the real deal next week. We made some mistakes, and we'll fix those for next time.
We will. We just got a quick question I'll answer real quick. I don't think the tape reader is an alternative to the pull stack because they're kind of different things. The tape reader is just looking at market buying, like the orders that fill the offer and orders that fill the bid, whereas the pull stack is showing you the changes on the limit orders. So the pull stack looks at limit orders whereas the tape reader is kind of showing you what the market orders are doing. So kind of two different things.
Yeah, I mean, pull stack is invaluable for me in the moment,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, well, guess what? We're going to do this every week. So Wednesday morning ish, afternoon ish, we'll post the schedule. It'll be posted in OFL announcements, so you can, plan to be there if you would like. In addition, another announcement. Wow, we're full of announcements. AJ is going to be doing a Trading the Open in the OFL Voice Discord on Tuesday mornings. So that's going to be at the Open on Tuesday mornings. Again, that's a scheduled as long as something doesn't come up, but that will be a regular occurrence on a weekly basis. And I'll probably join those as well. So we'll be trading the Open together once a week, and then we'll be doing this YouTube stream on Wednesday afternoons. And so there's going to be plenty more opportunities to ask questions and go through various things OFL related or trading related as well.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be really fun. I think though the trading the open sessions are gonna be a little bit less probably Q&A related. Like that's gonna be a little bit more focused on getting down to business because that's that time we like to be active. But
Yeah,
it should be fun.
yeah,
It should be fun.
yeah. That's AJ's panicking when I say trading the Open together. He's like, okay, we're trading. We're not answering questions. So
Yes. We can still we'll still chat, but like, don't ask me what the Dom's about when I'm doubling my size on a trade 15 minutes into the session.
Yep. I would just want to thank everybody for watching and listening, and hopefully making this a regular occurrence. Appreciate you guys for interacting. That's always a plus. So we'll
Yes,
go ahead
thank you
and
guys.
call it a day. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you. For those new to OFL, there's a Sunday new member webinar that will be at 7 p.m. Central. I'll make another announcement about that too. So we'll wrap up the session today, but we'll make all these announcements available in the announcements channel and in Discord.
Sounds good, homie.
See you guys.
See you guys next week.